This is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi. I'm the author of such books as the films of Eddie Murphy from Bear Manor Media and Star Trek video games from White Owl Books. And I had fun doing some of these movie news things, so I might as well give it a name. I'm going to call it Matt's Movie News. Pretty surprising. We're going to talk about two big news stories that came out today. I'm going to start with the smaller one and go to the big one, and I'll read the articles and kind of summarize them, give my reaction as someone who's been a film critic and an author of film books. I've written, a total of like 7 or 8 books so far in pop culture, usually film and video games. You can check me on Twitter, X, whatever you call that, at MATWBT. If you like what you see, please give me a follow. But we're going to start with this right here. So yeah, Yun. So there was just news, and I did a video of it recently that you can find on my channel on YouTube about Mel Brooks doing Spaceballs 2. Apparently he's trying to, get a lot of properties off the ground with the valuable IP of the movie he's been doing, and so a very Young Frankenstein comedy pilot in the works at FX. This is by Joe Otterson from Variety, and we got this nice picture here of Gene Wilder, and forgive me, I can't remember that actress's name, but she does the funny scene, the roll in the hay, that you see there from Young Frankenstein. So FX is nearing a pilot order. So for those who don't know, and if you're watching this, you might know this, but you might not. You never know. I think of the Stan Lee stuff with the old comics, that each comic could be someone's first. A pilot means it's the first episode of a TV series that's made, and usually it'll be made and shown to the TV station or the production company or the streaming service. And if they like it, then they pick it up for a whole season, or it might be a half season, or if they don't like the pilot, it just doesn't go, and that's just kind of a sunk cost. But anyhow, FX is nearing a pilot order for a project inspired by Mel Brooks's iconic comedy film Young Frankenstein. Variety has confirmed. Exact plot details are under wraps, but the project is titled Very Young Frankenstein. So Young Frankenstein is one of Mel Brooks's earlier films, and we can see here that it was filmed in black and white, and that was a big point of contention even when the original was made in the 70s. They didn't want to do it in black and white back then, but they wanted it to look like the Frankenstein movies, which is why Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder, who starred and also wrote the script with Brooks, really pushed for it. Excuse me. And so with all that, I'm wondering if this show will be in black and white. And the title "Very Young Frankenstein" I think is a little weak, to be honest. It's kind of funny. Like you could, I see "Very Young Frankenstein," I think of like Boss Baby or Baby Geniuses or these kind of things. Would he be a 12-year-old? Would he be an ancestor? Because this one, right, is not the Frankenstein from the books. He's a few generations down the line. So he's like a grandnephew or something around. It's been a little bit since I've seen the movie, but anyhow, we are going to. And if you have a question, feel free to put something in the chat. I will answer as I can, and we'll keep going. But yeah, so it says Mel Brooks will serve as an executive producer on the project, along with his producing partner Kevin Salter, Stephanie Robinson, Taika Waititi, and Garrett Bash, all of whom worked on FX's What We Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows I thought was very, very funny. A horror comedy series ran for 5 or 6 seasons, something like that. It just wrapped up. That was done in the Office style with kind of handheld camera stuff, confessionals to the camera, based on a movie called What We Do in the Shadows that Taika Waititi directed. And the What We Do in the Shadows movie, it was the same concept. The idea is like it's vampires in the present day, and they live in a house, and it's all different kinds of vampires. One is more like a Bram Stoker, Dracula kind of formal vampire. One is more from like the Middle Ages. One is an energy vampire. All these kind of things combining to make these great characters come together. So it says here, Robinson is the writer and showrunner on the project, while Waititi will direct. Michael Gruskoff, who produced the film, will also executive produce 20th Television, so Fox's television division is the studio. Reps for 20th TV and FX declined to comment. Uh, so, this isn't an official announcement, but this is breaking news as of today, this recording, June 25th. So, Young Frankenstein as a TV show, well, we get a description of what the movie is, so this is good to read. Young Frankenstein was originally released in 1974, the same year as Blazing Saddles, which is hard to believe, two of arguably Mel Brooks' best movies. It's frequently named as one of the best comedy films ever made. In the film, Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, travels to Transylvania after inheriting the castle previously occupied by his grandfather, the infamous Victor Frankenstein. He soon finds himself picking up where his grandfather left off, attempting to bring a dead body back to life. Gene Wilder starred as Frederick and co-wrote the screenplay with Brooks. The cast also included Marty Feldman, Cloris Leachman, Terry Garr, that's who was in the picture as Terry Garr, Peter Boyle, and Madeline Kahn. Brooks previously adapted the film into a stage musical, similar to what he did with the producers. Yeah, but the Young Frankenstein stage musical, it was on Broadway for a bit and closed. It has been on for years and years and years. Like the producers, the Young Frankenstein has a touring show. They redid some of the songs in the script in England. And it has the London cast recording, I understand, is better than the original Broadway cast recording. And should the pilot go forward, it'd be the latest update to one of Brooks's films to make it to television in the past few years. Right, because he's in a few of these. Previously, Hulu aired the sketch comedy series History of the World Part 2, which served as a follow-up to the 1981 film History of the World Part 1. The History of the World Part 2 series, I mentioned this a bit on my video last week on the Spaceballs 2 teaser trailer that came out. But the History of the World Part 2 show I thought was okay. It could use improvement, had a good mix of talented people behind it, because I'm sure everyone wants to work with Mel Brooks. But I don't think the whole thing quite meshed together well, and it seemed a bit stretched really thin as a TV show, and maybe that'll get a season 2, although it's been a few years now. I think that's probably doubtful. And Deadline is the first one that broke the story about a younger Frankenstein TV pilot and FX being interested. So, assuming this news is true and all that, I think Very Young Frankenstein could be a potential, if they do the show. I don't know if like that Office, What We Do in the Shadows, breaking the fourth wall approach would work. Although he had a little bit of the breaking of the fourth wall with like Igor and stuff in the film. And yet, despite all of that, what we have here is an adaptation of like an older movie compared to What We Do in the Shadows. Young Frankenstein. Do people recognize Frankenstein? Like, yes, it's one of the most remade movies of all time. Look at Frankenstein. Look at Dracula. Look at Peter Pan's another one they do all the damn time. Romeo and Juliet. There's some standard. Sherlock Holmes is a big one, right? Tarzan. Some of these big things they do again and again and again. So, Young Frankenstein, a comedic version of it as a TV show. I think they really need to film it in black and white. I think that's essential. And it should go for gross out stuff, but also be smart. I can see why the What We Do in the Shadows guy would want to do that, because the sensibility, even though, it's like the creators are from Australia, it's like also like a British sensibility as well. There's some crossover there, I think, with the humor and Mel Brooks's humor being, while there is slapstick, it's also pretty verbal, right? And you have to mix a lot of deep references to literature and so forth. So, Very Young Frankenstein, I think it's better as a TV concept than History of the World Part 2, and History of the World Part 2 got made. We saw at least a season of that. So, I hope the pilot's good. I hope it comes to a show, and curious as to what they'll do for casting. Man, if they cast the actor, and I will pull up his picture right here, just a second. If they cast that lead actor from The Bear in the Gene Wilder part, because there's all those memes about him looking like a young Gene Wilder, that would be really cool casting as the younger version of Victor Frankenstein. And you just saw him right there in that clip. You can see the pictures. He does, maybe not from straight on, but at an angle, right? His nose, like this here, like this picture. You can see like the Gene Wilder resemblance, especially give him like a bigger wig and shoot him in black and white and stuff. And I think that could be a really compelling casting for the younger Frankenstein series. So we will see, Very Young Frankenstein, excuse me. So we'll see if that happens. I'm not sure, but that's what I'd want for casting if I was doing it. But as Dennis Miller used to say, that's my opinion. I could be wrong on his Dennis Miller talk show on HBO. Okay, so this other one is the bigger piece of news, I think, and uh, there's been a lot about the Broccoli's, the original family that's been in charge of the James Bond stuff, sold off their piece of the action to Amazon, which now owns MGM and whatever. So Amazon MGM is the name of that studio, and now they've been looking for a director, right? Because it's been a few years since the No Time to Die film, the last Daniel Craig one, and because of that, I think Amazon MGM wanted to really get the wheels turning on a new James Bond thing, and all they've had so far is a reality show about James Bond, which had good production value, but I don't think was that great really. So here we got Dennis Villeneuve. I apologize, I might be mispronouncing it. Uh, is going from Dune to 007. It said he's to direct next James Bond film. The filmmaker has been tapped to direct the next James Bond movie, the first from Amazon MGM Studios. Tanya LaPointe, Villeneuve's artistic partner and wife, will serve as executive producer. As previously announced, Amy Pascal. Amy Pascal used to be an executive at Sony. Also did like was credited on like the Spider-Man movies. And David Heyman, that name I'm not sure about. We'll look him up in a minute. Will serve as producers. This is a quote from Villeneuve. This is the director right there. Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father ever since Dr. No, Sean Connery. I'm a die-hard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come, said Villeneuve. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor. Okay. Um, I mean, this is a bit of a contradiction, isn't it? Honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. Let's look at his filmography. I've seen his some of his recent ones, but some of his older stuff I should go back and check out. So looking at this, and this isn't has like some short films and kind of early stuff. Um, August 32nd on Earth, Maelstrom, Polytechnique, Incendies. Haven't heard of those. Prisoners was kind of his first big kind of American movie, kind of a crime drama. Enemy, Sicario, Arrival. All these, are well reviewed. I didn't. I've only seen his last three films. Sorry to say, but they're some pretty big ones. Blade Runner, 2049, the long-awaited sequel to Blade Runner. I think mostly hit the mark. I think the problem was it felt like they were setting up a Blade Runner 3, which didn't happen. They were doing some kind of a Blade Runner live-action show or animated or something like that. In Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, he's come out with. So, with all that with Dune, what kind of stuff does he also have on his plate, and how long is it going to be? So it just says this Bond 26 has recently been added to IMDb. In development, he's on pre-production on, looks like a remake of Cleopatra and Dune Messiah. Nuclear War, a scenario. Not sure about that one. Rendezvous with Rama. They've been trying to make that movie for decades. That is I believe, Arthur C. Clarke novel. Yep. A team of astronauts are sent on a mission to explore a giant interstellar spaceship hurtling towards the sun. Yeah, I mean, Morgan Freeman was trying to make that for years. So, anyhow, if that happens, that'd be cool. But point being, this guy's got a lot on his plate. We'll see if he sticks with Bond or drops out or whatever. But I know Amazon is itching to get a new James Bond movie. Which is probably why they made a deal to pay off the Broccoli's. And as part of that deal, from what I was reading, the Broccoli's still get 50% of gross of the James Bond films, which ain't too shabby. Pascal and Heyman added, Dennis Villeneuve has been in love with James Bond movies since he was a little boy. I mean, that describes almost anyone. That's kind of generic. It was always his dream to make this movie, and now it's ours too. At one point, Spielberg wanted to do a James Bond movie, but the Brits turned him down because they wanted just a British director. We are lucky to be in the hands of this extraordinary filmmaker. Bond is one of the most sought-after franchises for filmmaker. Reportedly, directors who also met for this film included Edward Berger. I don't know who that is. Edgar Wright, interesting choice, who, among other things, did Shaun of the Dead. And Paul King. Villeneuve was last in theaters as Dune Part 2, which earned over $700 million at the box office and several Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, winning Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. Currently, he is prepping the third Dune film scheduled to shoot this summer. Dune Messiah, right, which, frankly, I found Dune Messiah to be a more challenging read than Dune. Not in a bad way, but it's about like political machinations, and it's going to be a real tricky one to adapt without tons of voiceover. And considering how narratively sparse Villeneuve was with his Dune films, where he left a lot of the plot out and just had like nice visuals. I mean, it was very artsy, and Blade Runner had that too. Or Blade Runner 2049, the second one he did, also had that. Um, so what do you do with all that, right? The new Bond will mark the franchise's 26th title and the follow-up to 2021's No Time to Die. Has it really been that long? 2021. Geez, that means it's been 4 years without a Bond picture. Directed by Joji Fukunaga and served as Daniel Craig's swan song as 007, this film will also mark the first Bond outing following Amazon's $8.5 billion, wow, I forgot it was that much, takeover of 007's longstanding backer MGM. In 2022, Amazon acquired MGM, which allowed the tech entertainment company the rights to distribute all the future James Bond films. But until this year, there's little movement due to the impasse between Amazon executives and longtime shepherds of all things Bond, Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli. In February, it was announced that Wilson and Broccoli were pursuing a deal with Amazon that would allow the studio to have creative on future productions. Mike Hopkins, head of Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios, commented, "We are honored that Denise has agreed to direct James Bond's next chapter. He's a cinematic master whose filmography speaks for itself." Again, kind of a nothing comment. In a 2021 episode of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, excellent interview podcast, Villeneuve said, "I would deeply love one day to make a James Bond movie. It appears that day has come." So, there you go. I think in a way kind of a safe choice, but also that his movies, or the ones that I've seen, are pretty visual and kind of sparse on the plot. And the James Bond films can sometimes have, depending on which ones you're talking about, like a more complicated kind of spy thriller plot. I'm curious how he treats. It'll be a good looking film if he sticks around to direct it. You know, he has a lot on his plate, and sometimes directors will drop out of projects. We'll see if that happens. But if this is a lifetime dream of his, I do hope he gets to do it. But also, if he's doing like, if he's filming Dune Messiah, the third of his Dune movies, this summer, man, I mean, that means we wouldn't see this until 2027, maybe 2028, with the effects and stuff, depending on when he'd. But I bet we'll get more announcements about casting and a lot of stuff coming down the pike here. So, ultimately, what do you think about these two pieces of news here in Matt's Movie News about Mel Brooks' very Young Frankenstein comedy pilot ordered at FX and Denis Villeneuve directing the next James Bond film? Please comment down below if you like what you see. Please follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching this on. And hope you enjoyed me talking about these movie news. And catch me next time at Matt's Movie News. Hopefully we'll have some cool stuff to talk about. I tend to talk about genre stuff, so I'll be excited to do this. Aiming for something short, probably once every week or two, depending on how work is. But if you like it, post comments and stuff on YouTube. I'll read and respond to those as I can. And on social media or Instagram, I'm MATWBT. So until then, catch you later. Bye.